Hello and welcome back to Obsessive Prepper AZ. Today I've got hash brown potatoes. I've got them frozen in a big box and in these little milk cartons. And this is something that I showed you in my 10 buck a week challenge. Simple to use, long-term food storage, and we have got something that we can put in our food storage that we can feed our family and be happy with. You can reconstitute these and make soups out of them. Hash browns, add them to a casserole. If you've just got soup, you can rehydrate them and mix them in with your soups, like a chunky Campbell soup mix that I showed you how to do a 2 weeks food storage on that. And in my 10 buck a week challenge, I talk about these little milk cartons of hash brown potatoes. And if all you have for funds is to purchase these little boxes, by all means, purchase these little boxes. I'm just going to go through with the next steps of getting bigger boxes, how to store them, buying and purchasing frozen potatoes, and how we're going to dehydrate them and store those. Now I've got a quick shout out for two lovely women that I met when my husband and I were over in Europe, and mother and daughter, Raylene and Tracy. Hey! Raylene lives in Bali and Tracy lives in Australia. And when I did my video of cooking my hash brown potatoes in the truck with my husband, they had never seen anything like this. I guess in Australia, they don't have dehydrated hash brown potatoes. So this video is for Tracy and Raylene, and we're going to get into dehydrating hash brown potatoes, just like what you saw in the box, and we're going to store this. And also I'm going to, if you keep watching further into the video, I'm going to show you and compare scale-wise the dollar amounts purchasing something like this, the bigger box, or dehydrating your own potatoes. These smaller potatoes are 4.2 ounces. And we're going to see how a frozen potato, these big bags I purchased at Sam's Club, they're 6 pounds. And then this box is 33 ounces. So we're going to dollars and cents break this down and find out what the cheaper way to do it. If you don't have a dehydrator, then by all means purchase these bigger boxes. Costco sells these little boxes in an 8-pack if that's the way you want to go. The only thing I would suggest is, instead of leaving these in the milk carton, put them in a Mylar bag, FoodSaver bag, or put them in a glass jar with your FoodSaver and suck the air out of it. I've got a video on that also, on how to remove the air with a FoodSaver. You can always dry can these. Put them in the mason jar, put it up to about 225, 230 degrees for an hour. Get your lid that's been in hot water. Try to get moisture off of it. Put it on that. Put it on your mason jar, and that vacuum should seal that jar. So if you want to store these longer term and you don't have a FoodSaver, you can by all means dry can your hash brown potatoes, but just store it in the box. I'm going to try to show you this. This is a box here from January 2018. Best by use date. Now I am May 2019, so we're a year, give or take, and 5 months past that. And I still have them in my boxes in the plastic wrap, and I haven't even put them in mason jars because I do turn these quite a bit and use these. But these I'm going to definitely dehydrate and get them in mason jars and suck the air out with my FoodSaver. So come along as I dehydrate my hash brown potatoes. We'll scale it, we'll break down the cost, and we'll come up with what is the cheapest way to store your hash browns. So in my dehydrator at the bottom, I just put some paper towels down at the bottom layer to catch any moisture that might drip. It'll make an easier cleanup for me. So I have my bag of potatoes opened up. I'm going to go ahead and keep track of how many trays I use for my one bag of potatoes. I'm guessing probably 3 trays is what I'm going to end up using, a pound per tray. So mentioning again, try to purchase potatoes that do not have any oils or fats or anything in them, because you'll definitely get a longer shelf life. You can still get a long shelf life with those ingredients. You're just going to be able to extend your shelf life. You can put these on the tray frozen. I've had them in my refrigerator for a day, and they're still partially frozen. It doesn't make a difference. You don't have to thaw them out. I noticed I misspoke. 2 pounds per tray. This is a 6-pound bag. And once they start drying, I'll come back in and I'll move the potatoes around and get them a little bit more leveled. I have a ton of potatoes on my trays, but with the Excalibur, I'm not worried about these drying at all. So I have 1 bag on 3 trays. I've got 2 more bags. Luckily, I have a 9-tray Excalibur. Okay, I'm done. And your cleanup is just literally taking the stuff that fell through on your tray and getting it on the tray, and we'll get it turned on, get to cooking. It's 11 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and get this dehydrating. I'm going to set it for 225, and I'm going to set it for a minimum of 10 hours. And so if it's 11, I'm figuring about 10 o'clock tonight, my potatoes are going to be done. Throughout the day, I'm going to go ahead and check on them, move the potatoes around, and let the dehydrator do its thing. So I'll get back to you when all this is dry. I dehydrated my potatoes for those 10 hours. When the 10 hours were up, they were not even close to being done. So I went ahead and set the timer for another 8 hours. So 18 hours for 18 pounds of hash browns. It's the next day. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get it open. Now I have a tray here that I put all my trays on. It helps with cleaning up, not making as much of a mess, because this is going to be a little bit of a mess. I'm not going to lie. Well, I'll pull this one out first. So here's our hash brown potatoes. Oh, where's my gloves? Because I'm not going to dry can these, I'm just going to use my vacuum sealer to seal my jars. I don't need to dry can them for the heat to kill anything, because I've already dehydrated everything. So if there is a bug inside, it's dehydrated. And it is completely dry here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on my paper towels on my tray. And there's one tray. The color is real similar to what is in a box. I'm going to go ahead and get my trays completely emptied out, and then we'll move on to the next step of weighing and comparing between the big boxes, the little boxes, and then doing it ourselves. So I'll get this done and I'll get back with you. So I'm on my last tray, and it's amazing the amount of product that we have here. 18 pounds dehydrated in my Excalibur with my 9 tray. That is so much food. And you know, the freeze dryer is a neat asset if you have the money and the capabilities of purchasing that, but there's not much I can't do with my dehydrator. And even if you had a Nesco, you could still dehydrate, just not to that quantity level. But a Nesco works. It works great. I love my Excalibur. If you watch my videos, I swear by it. If you're interested in even looking at them, I've got them linked down below in Amazon, in our Amazon store. But truly, 18 pounds of hash brown potatoes dehydrated overnight, that's a positive. Virtually no mess. I have my paper towel in just a little bit left, and I'll clean up a little bit in my dehydrator. So this was our 3 big bags of hash brown potatoes. Isn't it amazing in volume weight how much moisture is in the potatoes? We've got them now where we can shelf stabilize this, and that's an awesome thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get my scale out, and we're going to get to weights and measures. So I have my scale. It is at a 0 weight, and I'm going to go ahead and measure the contents inside this box because I don't want the box weight. I went ahead and took the contents of this box because we do not want to weigh the box. We only want to weigh the product that's inside. So I dumped it in this bigger bowl. I went ahead and zeroed this bowl out, and we're going to weigh our hash brown potatoes. We have 2 pounds of potatoes here. Now the box, which is 32 ounces, the box states that it's 33 ounces. So it's including the box when it says that it's got 33 ounces in it. So we know now that we have 2 pounds of potatoes, 32 ounces. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to find out what we've got here. Right off the biscuit, I can answer our question. What is the cheaper product to store? Is it your dehydrated, or is it your potatoes that you can buy at Sam's Club? Right here answers the question. Now, I'm not saying that you can't shred your own potatoes and do your own potatoes. I haven't got into that, of how much apples to oranges that would cost. But off our 18 pounds of frozen potatoes, versus purchasing the box is cheaper to buy. The box was 32 ounces, so 2 pounds. When I weighed my potatoes, my 18 pounds of potatoes, that was almost $18 in expenses to buy the frozen potatoes. This box was $6, so we can get 6 pounds of potatoes already dried versus our 4 pounds of dried potatoes. That's a huge savings. So this is just things that I try to do to help everybody out, because the questions are, is what's cheaper to do? Is it cheaper for us to do our own products? And obviously buying a big box. If you don't have a way to get to Sam's Club, find a friend that can purchase you some of these boxes if you're wanting to store potatoes, or you can dehydrate your own. But when you compare apples to oranges in ingredients, they're exactly the same. We're not using electricity, which I had to do 18 hours of electricity. So by all means, it is cheaper to purchase the potatoes in the bigger boxes. I'll have to sit down and figure this out at the end of the video. If you want to see how I put them in FoodSaver, stay along for the ride, and I'm going to put them in mason jars and suck the air out of them and make them shelf stable. At the very end of this video, I'm going to go ahead and have this broke down, and we'll talk about that. I've decided to go ahead and put my potatoes in pint-sized mason jars. Now this little box of potatoes generally serves enough potatoes for my husband and I, and if we have a lot more people over, then I'll do 2 boxes. But for 2-3 people, 1 box is 4.2 ounces. So I'm going to figure that 2 part is the box weight, because I knew on my big box that weighed in also into their measurements here. I'm going to go ahead and dump this into a pint-sized mason jar, because I visually just want to see volume-wise what we're looking at. I went ahead and I measured 4 ounces of my dehydrated potatoes. And I'm going to go ahead and put that into the box. So this one is the dehydrated potatoes that we did, and this is the store out of the box dehydrated potatoes. So pretty close volume wise, but weight wise, they're both exactly the same. I'm going to go ahead and weigh out another 4 ounces. Now you don't have to get this technical. I am just doing this for the video. So I've got 4 ounces. I've got my cleaned mason jars. I'm going to put them in. And there we go. Now with the FoodSaver, I've got my lid. I'm going to go ahead and put my cap on. And I'm going to push canister. When I talk about using a FoodSaver and vacuum sealing oxygen out, I'm a big fan of it. Your initial cost goes out with your FoodSaver, but your return in the long run is so much more affordable. Once you've invested your mason jars, once you've bought the caps for your FoodSaver, and you have your FoodSaver, in the long run, you are bonus for having a FoodSaver. I use my FoodSaver, my bags a lot for freezing meats, that kind of thing, for freezer stuff. But anything that's pokey like this, if you use a FoodSaver bag and you suck the oxygen out, a lot of times you'll puncture a hole in your FoodSaver bag. So you've got to be like vigilant. If you put food in your FoodSaver bags, leave them out on the counter for a good 24 hours and see if you still have that vacuum seal. Now, there has been conversation in all my videos, because I don't use it or show it, is a brake bleeder. A brake bleeder, by all means, is a good idea if you do not have a FoodSaver. I went to Harbor Freight to go get a video of it. The cheapest they had was $24.95. Now, if your husbands have a brake bleeder and they'll let you use it, use it. I just figure in a situation where if we have electrical grid down for a long period of time and I can't use my FoodSaver, I don't need to use my FoodSaver because I'm not storing food any longer. I am literally at that point consuming my foods. So long term, I'm not thinking anymore. I'm consuming my foods. So if there's a situation where the grid was down and I could no longer use my FoodSaver, I'm not concerned with it. But if you want to use a brake bleeder, it is a great option. Want to go and purchase a brake bleeder and use one. There are people out there that use the brake bleeder and show you how to use it for sealing your mason jars. And there's also videos out there on how to make a brake bleeder. So again, it's what's best for you. What's best for me is using my FoodSaver, and that's what I do. I'm going to also be doing some dry canning video here in the next week that'll show you how to dry can in your oven if that's what you want to do to seal your jars. But again, in a situation where the grid was down, I'm not looking at sealing anything anymore. I'm looking at consuming. So we're completely sealed on our mason jar. And I'm going to go ahead and get to sealing my potatoes and my store-bought potatoes in the big box. And I'll get back with you with those numbers. So I'm almost done. You can see up top here, this is all my potatoes that I've put in pint jars. Now down here is what came in that big... Now what's down here is what came in that larger box of potatoes. I went ahead and put them in quart jars. Okay, so here's our numbers. When we purchased the Sam's Club big box, 33 ounces, was $5.98. And that made roughly 2 pounds of potatoes. When we purchased our Ore-Ida potatoes, I purchased 3 6-pound bags, so 18 pounds. Those 18 pounds dehydrated only came out to a little over 4 pounds. And at $5.98 a bag, it would only cost $11.96 to purchase 2 big boxes to match what I dehydrated on my own. When we look at it, what I had to get 4 pounds was 18 pounds of frozen potatoes. It cost $17.94 to dehydrate our own to make that 4 pounds. So it's definitely cheaper to go ahead and purchase that big box times 2 to get 4 pounds of potatoes. With our smaller container, they're a little over 4 ounces. And if you were to buy, let's say, Hungry Jack at the 99-cent store, I've purchased some in my 10-buck challenge for a little bit more. You can get them at like the dollar store, the 99-cent store for 99 cents. If you would take you 8 of these packages, so $8 to make 2 pounds. It would take you $16 to get to the quantity of what we did dehydrating. So answer is, you can either decide to dehydrate your own or purchase these little boxes. I've stored these for years. They work great. The only thing that you could do to store them for a longer period is get them in a mason jar or FoodSaver bag, suck the oxygen out, use some O2s, use a FoodSaver. I just hope this video helps everybody out. I had questions. What's the cheaper way to purchase shredded potatoes? They're so great for soups. You can add them into your soups, grind your potatoes down to use as a thickener. You can make hash brown potatoes. There's so many different things, casseroles that you can add your potatoes to. And by doing food storage, this is a neat item to have in your food storage. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe. And if you want to be notified for future videos, ring the bell. Have a blessed day.